Welcome back to House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and today we are previewing a rare matchup between the 3-3 Rams and the 3-2 Steelers, AFC North. We usually don't get to see these teams play each other, Gilbert. So joining me as always, before I even get to that, is Gilbert Manzano, staff writer for Sports Illustrated. He does everything out there. If you have any questions on it has to do with the NFL, he's your guy. Gilbert, what do you think of this matchup here as we start talking about previewing this matchup?
Yeah, intriguing matchup. Rams versus Steelers at SoFi Stadium, Week 7. The Rams are 3-3, 500, and then the Steelers are. I'm actually blanking on the Steelers.
Three
Yeah,
and
three
two.
and two. Yeah, 3-2
Yes,
had a bye
coming off
week.
the bye. Yes.
They beat the Ravens, which kind of feels like a long time ago. No, a long time ago, and so we haven't seen the Steelers in a bit. But you know, I don't know if I should call it intriguing because I have a lot of questions about the Steelers offense, and it's pretty boring to watch. So I don't know if I should be
What about
fascinated by this.
skeptical matchup?
There you go. It's definitely like a matchup where it feels like maybe it's on even playing fields, and the team that loses is maybe like, okay, maybe it's not your year to be a wild card team, but the team that wins, okay, I can see you as a playoff team. So I kind of like that. That's what I refer to the Cowboys and the Chargers. Like it's like a crossroads. Okay, which one's actually a playoff team? So here we are. We could call it. Are you a real playoff team, Rams or Steelers? So that's the storyline. I like that better than oh, I'm really excited for this. Like I was excited for Eagles and Rams, but not as excited for Steelers and the Rams. But the Steelers are a prestigious franchise, so we'll see how it looks at SoFi Stadium with is it black and yellow or black and gold, whatever it is.
Yeah, and it'll be pretty packed with Steeler fans. They travel well. They're probably between them and the Packers are probably the top two teams in terms of, packing up opposing stadiums. But before we get to this preview, Gilbert, we got a lot going on this episode. Um, we have as we said, our preview. We have the latest news and notes plus player matchup storylines for both teams, keys to the games, and of course, Gilbert and I will give our predictions on this game. But before we get to all that, what can our viewers and listeners, check out that we have going on across our Compas on the network, uh, platforms?
Yeah, you're probably either watching this preview episode on Wednesday night or Thursday morning. And if it's still Thursday or Thursday hasn't arrived yet, check out our Looking Ahead show on the Compas on the Beat YouTube. Make sure to find that channel. If you haven't done so, subscribe, support. And we have a Looking Ahead show where we do all game picks for the week. So this will be week 7 this week. Fantasy football advice, game picks advice, or just anything you want to talk about the NFL. That is your opportunity to engage with us and ask us questions or just give us your takeaways. I don't want to be the know-it-all. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions on the NFL. So I was looking ahead Thursday evenings after Thursday night football on the Compass on the Beat YouTube channel. So it could be anywhere from like 8:30 Pacific to 9 p.m. Pacific. So look out for the live episode. And then we have a lot of content on that channel, Compass on the Beat. Anything you want related to the NFL or random banter and just having fun with the compas, check that out. And of course, if you're stumbling on this video because you're curious to hear about the Steelers or obviously about the Rams, or you're new here, subscribe to the channel. If you're interested in what the Chargers are doing because of fantasy football purposes, more likely, check out What's Up Bolts with Fernando Ramirez, Dan and Dago. And eventually we got to get going on the combat compas, but it's kind of a slow time in the combat sports right now.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, there's not much going on. And then you have the story with Showtime ending their boxing relationship there. So, but that'll be for another day. I just want to make sure that before we move on to your engagement question, Gilbert, that we just give a shout out to all the new subscribers, even the people who have been with us for a long time now. It's because of them that we're able to do this. You guys have done a great job of being in the comments and giving us some feedback. We really really appreciate that. There's a lot, about 5 people on there that constantly reply, and we are very thankful for that.
Yeah, and definitely, if there's something that you want us to touch on for the week, or any feedback to how to improve the show, we're all ears. We're always trying to evolve and get better. So that's the main thing. It's a show for you guys, the listeners and viewers of House of Horns. And yeah, we love the engagement. And by the way, the live shows on the Compas on the Beat channel, that when we talk NFL, is Mondays and Thursdays. I think we already post them here on the House of Horns channel, so you don't have to go anywhere. But if you want to go subscribe, that'd be cool too. But yes, we have a community vibe here, and we love all the content at House of Horns. And if you see things that are more Compas related, we also love the support on that side too. But we're trying to merge everything, bring a a media network that we're slowly getting bigger and bigger, and eventually you'll see us at the top. But we like where we're at right now, and it's all about getting that community vibe going.
Yeah, and slowly but surely we're building something here between House of Horns, Compas on the Beat, and What's Up Bolts, and Combat Compas as well. We got a lot of stuff going out there. So let's get to our engagement question, which has to do with a lot of news and notes that we'll get into. But here you go, Gilbert. Go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, it's a lot. So I'll keep it a little simple before I give you maybe some ideas here. But for the engagement question of the week, what should the Rams running back plan be this week? Because unfortunately, no Kyren Williams, no Ronnie Rivers. That duel was finally getting going. And who would have thought maybe a year ago, Kyren Williams and Ronnie Rivers running the show? And now they're going to be heavily missed this week, and maybe 4 weeks for Ronnie Rivers. Well, definitely 4 weeks for Ronnie Rivers, or 4 games. We don't know about Kyren Williams just yet. So now let me know if I forget somebody here, Victor. But
No,
Royce Freeman, Zach Evans, Darrell Henderson, and Miles
Miles
Gaskin.
Gaskin.
There's
Yes.
2 or 3 guys on that list that I didn't even know they were still playing football. Like, I'm gonna be real here. Royce Freeman is a name that I think he's been around already, but it's been a long
Yeah.
time since I've heard him actually do anything. Miles Gaskin was with Miami, but I didn't think he was still being active. Darrell Henderson, where did he go? He went to the Jaguars, right? So I kind of forgot about
Last
him a
year.
little
Yep.
bit. So maybe somebody, like, but I don't want to be too negative here, but there's always a running back that kind of finds the gear, and they do something, but it's usually a younger side. So it could be Zach Evans. I don't know about the older guys, but I'm gonna go on a rant here. But the question is, what do you want to see from his running game? Maybe it could be, maybe you don't want to see much of them. Maybe you want to see more pass heavy attack with Stafford, Puka, Cooper, and Tutu, or you want to say, you know what, do a committee. It could be complicated, but whoever has a hot hand by the second quarter, just feed that guy. So let me know what you would do if you were Sean McVay to manage his running game. So if you're in the audio, and by the way, if you're in the audio, leave a review if you can, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. If you haven't checked out the audio, please do so, because it could make your life easier when you're driving and you want to hear House of Horns. And that's kind of the best way sometimes to get a podcast when you're stuck in traffic in LA or Southern California. Get House of Horns on the audio. But if you're in the audio, get over to YouTube and comment for this engagement question of the week.
No, I mean, when we'll get into all four running backs, I have a lot of information for you guys. So, please let us know. But let's get to the news and notes, Gilbert. And I'll just start us off since you were
Wait,
just,
one more
yeah,
thing. 'Cause I
yeah,
think I
go
saw
ahead.
here. I gotta tease one more time. We're gonna do a giveaway soon, and for those that have been keeping tabs, I caught you giving the keywords last week. So I think it was Puka ROY. So don't try to go back in and do it again, because I give it a 7-day limit there. I keep making up rules as we go, but I got you guys down for that. So look out, keep watching in this show for when I drop the next keyword for this giveaway from a rookie from BYU, 5th round pick. You get the gist here. So I eventually will announce a real giveaway here for the jersey, but I'm having fun with the Easter egg hunt here. So one more week of doing the clues for double entry here, and you've done it the last 2 weeks, you could potentially get 6 in here. So stay tuned, and we'll let you know when the keywords is about to drop.
Yeah, sounds good. There you go, guys. There's another way of winning that jersey. And but let's get to news and notes, because I know we're all 9 minutes in and people want to get to all the stories. Let's start off first with let's start off with news before we get to the Rams injury report, which is pretty. Actually, let me give you that real quick so we can get it out of the way. So according to Sean McVay, she just kept it short and sweet. There, as we're recording on Wednesday, the Rams haven't released, but during the press conference before practice, Sean McVay did say Ernest Jones wasn't going to practice. Neither was Laurel Murchison. They're both dealing with knees. As far as Ernest Jones, he expects him to be okay and play on Sunday. And then limited was going to be Joe Noteboom, Ben Skoranek, and I don't know. He also mentioned Kobe Turner, but I haven't seen a designation for an injury there. So he
Mm.
was also going to be limited today. And then let's just get right into it, as you talked about. Rodney Rivers heads to IR, and then we have Kyren Williams. He also said that is expected to miss a couple of games with a high ankle sprain, but McVay also said there's a possibility that he goes on IR depending on how things go for Williams this week. So there's also that. I saw a report for Jeremy Fowler where he also said it might be 2 or 3 games. So they're going to see how things go, Gilbert, with Kyren Williams. Um, just what are your thoughts in terms of and then two more things in terms of this. They also signed Darrell Henderson, as you mentioned, and Miles Gaskin to the practice squad. And then there was just a note that came in for Jordan Rodriguez in terms of Miles Gaskin, and he did not know that the practice facility was so far away from LAX. So there you go. That's living in LA for you, Gilbert.
Yeah, the cat here, Benito, wanted to hear the injury report because, like, man, what he has Kyren Williams on his fantasy team, so that's a blow here for Benito. And yeah, it's unfortunate. Eventually I'll try to push him off here, but he's having fun. But oh, look at that, he's
There you go.
dropping things here.
All right.
With Kyren Williams, I was kind of disappointed because when we did the post game show, it sounded like he's gonna be okay. Like, and he was just going off and like, okay, this is identity for the Rams here. This is what you need. You need to feed and feature Kyren Williams, and then you have this, and it sounds like the couple games gonna miss, and it got from like not too bad to we'll see it. Then he's gonna miss games for sure. I'm like, what the heck happened here with
Well,
Kyren
he
Williams?
Sean McVay did clarify during the press conference today. He said that he looked like, I guess he was going off adrenaline.
Mm.
Kyren Williams was, and he was walking around. Everything seemed fine, but it looked like things just progressed. And then they went in, they did some tests, and the test came back really like there was some injury concerns there, Gilbert.
Yeah, and it's also unfortunate for Ronnie Rivers. It would have been nice to see what he could have done with the opportunity. So that's a blow there. And again, like I don't know how they're gonna approach this running back committee. Like I guess maybe Zach Evans has been there the longest. I don't know how long Royce Freeman has been there. Because I totally just forgot about him, and then they got Henderson and Miles Gaskin. So when you got four guys like that, it kind of tells you like they have no idea what they're gonna do. They want to just see how practice week goes and maybe try out one game to see who's a hot hand here. And they're gonna play a very tough Steelers defense. I know the Steelers defense has not been up to what they usually do when it comes to their lofty standards there. But they still have a lot of talent, and playmakers on defense. So it could make life harder for his running game here. So we'll see. It's gonna be a blow because like we mentioned, I think they found something, an identity here, but Sean McVay was kind of stubborn with the running game, so maybe it's an opportunity to get creative with the passing game and finally unlock this duo of Puka and Cooper because it's been very one sided. Well, I guess the first game wasn't too one sided, but Cooper Cup. Yeah, I was going to say Puka Cooper. Uh, Cooper Cup was heavily involved and not enough other wide receivers against the Cardinals, but you didn't really need it because Kyron Williams was doing a big bulk of the work.
Yeah, and I think a couple of things that Sean McVay talked about in his press conference when it came to Darrell Henderson, I thought was his familiarity with this offense. He was there last season with the team until they let him go, and then he went and signed with the Jaguars. So I think where he's going to be key, Gilbert, is his blocking.
Yes.
Especially I as you talked about, I don't think you can expect much from this team in terms of running the ball the next few games without Kyren Williams. I think the big priority is going to be blocking, and I think that's where he comes in. And then in terms of Miles Gaskin, he has familiarity with one of the assistant coaches on the team from his time playing at University of Washington, and then also playing a similar type of offense in Minnesota. Um, up in Minnesota, and then also with Miami, but mostly with Kevin O'Connell. I thought that was also very important. Apparently, him and Sean McVay and Kevin O'Connell talked about Miles Gaskin and how he would fit in this offense, and it sounds like he that was part of the reasons why he was brought in, Gilbert.
Yeah, being familiar, knowing the scheme, I think that helps, and definitely with Darrell Henderson just being here a year ago is definitely gonna help out. Like you want somebody who's familiar, and if they don't feel like Zach Evans is you know I guess ready to go as a rookie, then we'll see who they go with. But you know, going back to Kyren Williams, I wonder if he's gonna be a guy you could count on to be available and healthy every single week because he had a bunch of injuries a year ago and now he's having something else again. So we'll see because when the Rams got him a year ago, they just love his potential. They were actually like on the verge of making him the lead back in his rookie year, and then he got hurt and on the opening kickoff against the Bills, and now he has this injury here. So I know he's a little smaller and he plays like a bruiser. So that's kind of where I'm trying to think long term. Like, okay, can you count on this guy to be healthy? We'll see. But that's a problem for another day. And he's been very valuable. He's proven himself, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's definitely an RB1 this season, and I think going forward, he just needs to stay healthy, as you talked about. And like I said, I think the biggest thing for this team in terms of their running game or their running backs, whoever they go with, going back to Evans, I think part of his problem is he's not good at picking up blitzes, and that's why they brought in those two veteran guys. And if I'm the Rams, I want to go with that veteran presence because I don't want Matthew Stafford getting killed when you're in 11 personnel. He's not. We know um how Sean McVay likes to throw the ball, and he refuses to run the ball, and so he wants somebody who can block, who can pick up blitzes, who can pick up the edge rushers, and I just think that that's going to be important in the game plan for the next couple of games as they go forward without those two running backs.
Yeah, if I feel like I had to make a guess who's gonna like at least make an impact, I think I'm gonna lean Darrell Henderson because he knows Sean McVay and like you mentioned, he could pass block. Like it's good to have intel on Miles Gaskin from a familiar coach, but you're still not familiar with the guy because you haven't had him in your building. Like Henderson could do it, and then like I know it's not the same position, but what was it? I laughed on the Sunday Night Football broadcast when they introduced the Giant player. Is it Justin Poog, the
You're
point
right out
guard?
of the couch,
Yeah, right
yeah,
off, straight off the couch. So
yeah,
one of these guys could actually do that and straight off the couch and produce. And we've seen it many times.
yeah,
With the CJ Anderson for the Rams not too long ago, where
yeah,
like he was like unemployed with the Broncos and comes out and does something. So we'll see about that. But Vic, let me get to a couple more things and
yeah.
to move on
Go ahead.
here. But uh, interesting, well, not interesting, but unfortunate development with Darion Kendrick, the cornerback, the second-year cornerback for the Rams, having some legal trouble. I don't want to speculate or say the wrong things here, but they found he got stopped in I think it was Hollywood, yeah, Hollywood. He
Yes.
was stopped. They found a gun and marijuana. I don't want to make a joke here, but I thought you were okay to have marijuana, but I guess not. But yeah, it's unfortunate. We'll see how this plays out. I know Sean McVay and Les Snead are trying to figure out, okay, what really happened here? Why did he have a gun? If that's the case, it's all, allegations. We don't know what really happened, but it seems like it's legit here with Darion Kendrick. Like, why do you have this after a victory? Like, why are you driving out? So we'll see what they do, and if they deem it a dumb mistake from Darion Kendrick, I would not be surprised if he gets cut. Obviously he's playing a lot this year with Kobe Durant and Witherspoon. Like that's kind of been the three cornerbacks there, so they need him. But he's still like a six-round pick who makes a lot of boneheaded plays out there when it comes to flags. So I would not be surprised there if he gets cut. But first, I'm guessing they're gonna do a bunch of, hey, what happened here? What's going on? Or it could be tough love, like, hey man, you messed up, gotta go. So we'll see what happens there. But they gotta go through the whole legal battle stuff, or not battle, but legal information first.
Yeah, and Sean McVay talked about it. He opened up his press conference to talk. He said, "I have no update for you guys. We're still waiting, but there is an update as we're recording. Gary Klein from the LA Times. He's been charged with two misdemeanors for gun charges, possession of a gun. That's pretty much it. And he was arraigned. He was arraigned today. Let me give you the exact thing here, so I don't want to. He faces two misdemeanor gun charges. He appeared for his arraignment on Wednesday, but it was continued until December 5th. And so, as you talked about, the thing with the Rams is they don't like players making noise outside of the field. And as you talked about, I think he could be cut, and then that opens up things for a guy that everybody's been asking for, in Tomlinson. And then you also have more playing time for Duke Shelley, and Duke Shelley is a veteran guy. I think. I think Raheem Morris hasn't put him out there, even though he's probably was um, Trey Tomlinson was the talk of the preseason on defense and for this rookie class. And, everybody else has broken out in terms of this rookie class when you talk about Steve Avila, Puka Nakua. Like, you've seen other players and people are wanting to see Trey Tomlinson. But I think one guy that's kind of been underrated has been Duke Shelley. I mean, he was with Minnesota last season. He got an opportunity to play because they had a bunch of injuries there, and he performed really well. Signs with the Raiders this offseason, gets cut, during training camp. Signs with the Rams, and he's played outstanding so far while he's had his opportunity. So that is someone to keep an eye on, Gilbert.
Yeah, like I was thinking, okay, maybe an opportunity for Trey Tomlinson, but like you mentioned, they have another player in Duke Shelley. I think they kind of want to go with the veteran route. It worked out with Akilo Witherspoon, so obviously not the biggest names, not Pro Bowlers or anything like that. But when you have guys who could just do their job and be productive, especially in this Raheem Morris scheme, where like is like the secondary man, like they don't have a lot of like ballers. I know John Johnson and Jordan Fuller are supposed to be some of the better safeties in the league, but they're not like Minka Fitzpatrick, right? So this
Yeah.
scheme is really working, and guys are just making it work. Like they're not getting a bunch of takeaways, they're not shutting down players, but like they're just saying you're not gonna beat us down the field. You want to do it underneath stuff, that's fine too. So at least in terms of that part, Kendrick was doing that. So they need somebody to figure out how to be within the scheme. And if Trey Thomas is not ready for that, then yeah, maybe Duke Shelley, maybe they got to get the call up there to be the third cornerback.
Yeah, and I sent you this the other day, Gilbert, which I got to give credit to Turf Show Times. They tweeted this out. So the Rams cornerback salary, Gilbert, is 32nd in the league. The Rams safety salary rank is 29th. And then you go through their what they've done this season. Their Rams passing touchdown allowed rank is one. Rams completion allowed rank is third. Rams passer rating allowed is seventh. And how many of those have been first or second round picks? Zero. So they're doing it with dudes, Gilbert. Like, that's very impressive, and that tells you what a great job Raheem Morris has done as a coach this season, as a defensive coach coordinator.
Yeah, and for the scheme to work, like you need all your guys, your DBs to be available downfield. So that's a credit to the defensive front. That means they're applying pressure. You're not having to blitz heavy. I don't know what the numbers are, Vic, but we all kind of expected a little heavier blitzes, and I don't think that's been the case because of this kind of like, all right, we got a bunch of dudes over here doing their jobs in secondary. You won't beat us down the field. So that was kind of a unexpected twist there, but that tells you that Aaron Donald and the crew are getting pressure. And like I mentioned last week, I forgot his name, Greg Gaines. Like no Ashawn Robinson. Like it was supposed to be a whole new look unit. And then wow, look at Byron Young. He's actually balling out. Another rookie, Kobe Turner. Oh, they're doing well. You want to see
Jonah
more?
Williams.
Yeah, Jonah Williams, like another guy who was like supposed to be special teams, who was fighting for the roster spot. So you want to see more from Michael Hoyt. The experiment there hasn't been working out too much here, but he's doing his job. So when you have that push there, and obviously Ernest Jones is a big part of it too to help out, with the run defense too. So if those guys aren't doing their job, then the scheme won't work. So it's kind of a credit to everybody. And like, again, like besides Aaron Donald, it's not a lot of first round picks here.
Yeah, and I mean Byron Young was had the best rate PFF rating on Sunday. So I mean, of all the players on defense, so I mean, he's another guy that you know from this rookie class, and they just continue to be more and more impressive, and it just tells you, how well their draft has gone this season, and credit to Les Need and all the dudes that he's been able to pick up, and like we said, the guy that was a talk of preseason, Trey Tomlinson, hasn't even been in there, so that's pretty impressive. Before we move on to the Rams and Steelers storylines, Gilbert, I just wanted to that Sean McVay. There was a big story before the game against the Cardinals that he may miss a game due to the birth of his child. Uh, Turns out it was a non-story according to Sean McVay. He said he said it today during his press conference. He will not miss a game. He said, and to quote him, he says, "I'm not going to miss a game. My son knows better than to come during a game." So he's already coaching his son even before he's born. Gilbert,
Has he given a due date? Like, when is his son about
I
to
guess at
pop
any
out?
time they know. They're not letting people know, but it could be at any
Mm.
moment. But apparently, he's already coaching up his son not to. He knows better than to be born. During the game.
He's very confident. Makes him feel like maybe the baby was delivered Monday or Tuesday for him to speak like, okay, he ain't gonna make me miss a game. So I don't know. Maybe they're expecting it to happen, Friday or Saturday, and they are at home, so it's kind of easy to be around for that scenario there. But I don't know. I feel maybe he might have jinxed it. What if it does happen Sunday and he says he doesn't want to miss the game? So we'll see. And then my other question is, does he have a name? Have they announced the name? I'm
I
curious.
have not seen anything about that. I just thought it was hilarious how, there was at least two questions asked about this topic, and I thought it was, he was like he was like, he's like, I'll tell you this, I'm not gonna miss a game. Pretty much trying to, he's like, I don't
Mm.
understand why this was made such a big story, but I won't miss the game. So we'll see what happens.
All
But
right,
you're right,
baby
I
watch.
didn't really think about this, but it probably needs to happen within these 2 weeks because then they're on the road. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll be nice for him to be there while when his child is born. But let's get to Rams and Steelers storylines, Gilbert. Let's go ahead and have you start with the Steelers.
Yeah, like I mentioned at the top of the show, we haven't seen the Steelers in a bit because they were on a bye week, but they're coming off a very thrilling victory. Well, it wasn't thrilling for the first three quarters. I watched that
Is
again. That
sloppy.
was terrible.
Yes.
But then somebody, maybe not Matt Canada, called a great play for Kenny Pickett to throw to George Pickens, and they beat Marlon Humphrey 1-on-1, and they got the game-winning touchdown. The Ravens couldn't recover. I think it was like 10-2 or something. It was like a weird game. It was like 10-5, and then they start a rally there, and they come back. So they're on a high there for the Steelers, and they have a winning record. They're 3-2. I've seen them a couple of times. They beat the Browns in a very ugly Monday Night Football game. So, for them and they got beat down by the 49ers, and I'm trying to think of their second loss here, but it's been very uneven for the Steelers.
The
And
Texans, they got blown out
oh
by the
yeah,
Texans, and
so
they beat the Raiders, the Ravens, and the Bengals. Is that who they beat? No, the Ravens, the Raiders, and there was someone else
the
they
Browns.
beat. The Browns. There you go.
Yeah, so it's I don't know, like sometimes you could get a good Steelers team, but one thing that's been consistently bad, it's the offense. Like Kenny Pickett has not taken a step forward for year two, and we just kind of mentioned the secondary for the Rams is pretty good. I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on the production of the Rams defense. So if Kenny Pickett, who I think I found out earlier today, leads the league in the shortest passes and also has a worse completion rate when it comes to the shortest passes. So not only is he just thinking and dunking, he's still missing those throws there. So everybody's frustrated with the Steelers offense. So much talent. I don't think Deontay Johnson is back. Yeah, I could be wrong here. Uh,
He's practicing full. He is on the 21
okay,
window where he can return.
on track
Also,
then.
Pat Freiermuth
Yeah.
is he's scheduled to play in this game as well. He practiced full on Wednesday.
So those guys are available. Maybe that could help out the Steelers offense and more things to handle for the Rams defense. But this team, like let's be real, like they when they have success, it's throwing it to George Pickens. Obviously, you can't force the ball, and when Kenny Pickett can't throw down the field, George Pickens is at his best with contested passes down the field. He does one-handed grabs, all these circus kind of, acrobatic catches. So that's kind of what they have there. And I was, making fun of Matt Canada because when they got that game-winning touchdown, he was the only one in the booth not happy, and I think somebody else called it for him. And there's a bunch of controversy with Matt Canada, so we'll see what happens. After a bye week, to figure it out. They can't really figure out the running game either. They got Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, so I go back to the offense here with all the time for the Steelers storyline. I think the defense will be fine, but they have, like, if you look at the numbers, like you mentioned, they got blown out by the Texans. They got blown out by the 49ers. 49ers blow out everybody, and the Texans actually have been pretty good. But this, if you look at the numbers for the defense, is not what we're used to. So opportunity here for Matthew Stafford and Puka and Cooper Cup to do something with the passing game. They got to get some kind of rushing attack going because they become one dimensional against TJ Watt. That could be a really long day for your offensive line. But uh, I keep focusing on the offense here. We'll see what they do. But when you've been successful with the passing game and you're playing Kenny Pickett, you must feel pretty good about your chances if you're the Rams.
I guess we'll get to keys to the games, but if you're telling me that the Steeler team got beat by the 49ers and the Texans, there's something similar there. They both run Kyle Shanahan offenses. So if you run some kind of Kyle Shanahan offense, I guess you can beat down the Steelers. Otherwise, if you run something else, you're gonna lose to the Steelers. So so far that's what we've gotten from this team. But just kind of doing a little, preparing for this matchup because we didn't have much to go off of because they didn't play this past week. If you go back to the Ravens game, they sacked um, Lamar Jackson 4 times, so you know what you're expecting from the defense. I saw a couple of things during this bye week, and I guess this week as Mike Tomlin got back into it. I think one of the things that for me the storyline is the fact that they're always trying to get Mike Tomlin fired. I've talked about this on regular Compas. Um, and I just don't understand. I get it. Like, Steeler fans have been spoiled by all the success that they've had, but even with Mike Tomlin, like he's one of the best coaches out there. So as soon as you decide that you're done with Mike Tomlin, he's gonna get scooped up like 2 minutes later. So that's been always my storyline with that. Like I understand the whole Matt Canada and the burner phone, whether he had a burner account on Twitter, that was hilarious, but there is a lot of struggles, and I understand the criticism when it comes to this offense because even you talked about it, Gilbert. You fell for the banana in the pipe there with when it came to Pickett. You thought he might do something. This Kenny Pickett might do something
All
this
down in the
season after,
preseason.
yeah, because he balled out in the preseason. And one of the things that Mike Tomlin has been asked about is why isn't he playing his rookies? And he keeps saying, well, there's veterans on this team that deserve to play over those rookies, and you have Broderick Jones, or left tackle. He's been playing really well, especially against the Ravens. You had Joey Porter Jr., who came in that game and who also has guys like Patrick Peterson. You got Levi Wallace, which I'll talk about later on when we do our keys to the game. But it seems like he's got a lot of, and this is part of coaching. You have veteran guys that you have to, make sure you don't lose, while also being able to play your rookie guys. And everybody talked about the Steeler rookie class. Everybody said that they probably had the best draft, before training camp, just because of the names that they got. And I think that's I think that's part of the struggle, Gilbert, with this Steelers team is I think they still haven't found that identity. I think they have a mixture of veterans and rookies that they're trying to make, or young players, I just said, that they're trying to mix in. And you're in a tough division that doesn't help as well.
Yeah, going to the Mike Tomlin thing, I think he's a fantastic head coach, and you're right. If they move on, there's someone's going to pick him up, and Mike Tomlin's gonna get a lot of credit because he's not like the play caller of offense or defense, and And sometimes you don't need that. Like some of the best coaches, the ones that know how to operate an entire team, like the ones that like look at the Panthers. Frank Reich keeps trying to call the offensive plays, and he keeps messing up with the Colts, with the Panthers. Now he finally said, "All right, Thomas Brown, I need help." Thomas Brown, the former running backs coach for the Rams. So, when you know how to operate all three phases, those are very valuable coaches. And I think about John Harbaugh. I think about what Dan Campbell has done in Detroit. So, the only thing for me with Mike Tomlin, he is sometimes a little too old school, and that can be frustrating there when it's such an innovative game. You have to be very creative. And his fault, I think, a year ago was seeing how many games they won at the end to fall short for the playoffs. I think Kenny Pickett was 7-5, but if you look at the numbers, like he wasn't great. Like it was like they were just getting it done with a lot of talented players, and like no competition for Kenny Pickett. Like we just are all gonna assume that he's gonna be the starter, and they just said, you know what, he won enough games. That's all I care about. I am not gonna apologize about winning ugly. Same thing with Matt Canada. He's wanting to keep it going, and it's like, all right, we shouldn't be surprised here because all the numbers were suggesting that he's not the greatest quarterback. So they just handed him the job, and now they're struggling here. And you kind of feel bad for Matt Canada being the scapegoat because like what can he do when the quarterback's not producing that on the field and he's not spreading the ball around and being productive? So uh I don't watch the Steelers on a daily basis say Kenny Pickett's fault or Matt Cannon's fault. Who knows? But also I do know it's really early in the season. They could figure out, and I think that's one of the things about Mike Tomlin. He knows the pulse on his team. He knows when they're about to break, when they're about to go on a funk. Like when they lost to the Texans, he was critical. Like, yeah, we stink. We might need changes here. So he's all about wins and losses, and sometimes that could be hurtful because you're not doing the deeper dive into your team when it comes to the offseason evaluations. There you go. And who am I to criticize Mike Tomlin for one mistake when this guy's been one of the most productive head coaches in a very long, or not, yeah, for a very long time. Was it 16 years, 17? I lost track.
Yeah, it's been 2 decades. I mean, not 20 years, but, for the better part of 2 decades. And and that also falls on the new GM. They have a new GM, and they're running things the way they want to in terms you want to, you drafted this quarterback, you want to be able to develop the quarterback. And that's part of it, Gilbert. Not every quarterback is going to hit right away, and so they're trying to be patient with it as well. You have a quarterback on a rookie deal. You're trying to make sure that you're able to pay all your defensive players. And so that's part of it. You're gonna have growing pains, and listening to one of his press conference, he said, like, I think people just need to be patient. I know it's hard, and we want everything. We live in a new era where we want everything to be fast and for it to be productive right away. And sometimes that's not the case, and not everybody can be the Miami Dolphins, where you bring in a new coach and then you have a new. And I think part of the criticism too, which is fair, with that has to do with Matt Canada, is the fact that he hasn't run a successful offense anywhere he's been. That's part of the problem, and that's where Steeler fans are right. Like, you would understand if he's been successful in other places, and you're like, look at all this that he's done before. It's just that's part of the problem, and that's where Steeler fans are right.
Yeah, it's like that's why I'm saying, like, what did you see in the offseason to say, hey, let's go do this again? And all he looked at was probably the wins and losses. They had a nice run. They won 7 out of the last whatever 8 or 9 games, and said, "F, it, let's try it again." He probably thought they were the Detroit Lions who were surging like last year, and they tried again. But enough about the Steelers. It's time to bring out your baskets because it's time for the Easter egg hunt here. I got the phrase here, and it's a funny one here because it's we're on baby watch. So if you want this jersey giveaway and you want 2 entries into the giveaway, which we will make official next week. I'm done with the games and playing around, but I want to give people a head start and advantage. So comment with the phrase or the 2 words here, baby McVay. You like that one? Baby McVay. I don't know the kid's name. So baby McVay will be the key phrase here. And yeah, so I feel like everybody's playing by the rules so far, so I won't make it too complicated. But if you've done it the last 2 weeks and you already have 4 entries, you can make it 6 right here. Increase your odds for this jersey of a rookie sensation that's I cannot name because I want to make it a somewhat of a mystery until we announce it. We also got to find a jersey too because I we found out that they're also selling hotcakes, and we got to wait to buy one because we got to figure out your size. So for the winner, so.
There we
But the
go.
goal is to say all that we want to get to 1,000 subscribers quickly. Like you're mentioning, we all want things quickly. Well, we want to get to 1,000 subscribers, so
Yep.
we're gonna need some help when we do announce it next week. Start spreading the word. Maybe we could find a kind of a game here where if you help us out with getting subscribers, we increase your odds. But we'll worry about that next week. Vic and I we'll figure out the rules for the giveaway. But for right now, type in the comments "Baby McVay" and you get 2 entries here.
There you go, guys. And that's a good way to get a free Rams jersey. So that way you can represent and have a potential rookie receiver, perhaps, it's
Yeah,
jersey. So there you go. There's I don't want to get too much into the Rams storylines because I think we can kind of get into it during player matchups and keys to the game. So let's move on to player because we kind of went over some of the items in terms of the storylines earlier with the running back situation. So let's go ahead and get to player matchups to watch, Gilbert. So what do you got this Steelers matchup between the Rams and Steelers, I should say.
yeah. Let me see if I messed up my microphone. I did. How's that sound?
Yeah, there we go. You're back on.
Okay. Yeah, for the matchups here, what did I have? I had a good one actually. Yeah. So without probably no Darion Kendrick, you have less cornerbacks, but you mentioned some guys, Trey Tomlinson, Duke Shelley could help out. But I know they don't really ask people to shadow in this system here, but somebody has to guard George Pickens, and it's going to be either Witherspoon or Kobe Durant. I know Kobe Durant's playing more of the star, and we'll see if he continues doing that but because he's been struggling. But I think it might be the veteran Witherspoon having a good amount of work against George Pickens. And like I mentioned, when the Steelers offense is actually doing something down the field productive, it's going to George Pickens. So you better be on him. And yeah, he doesn't have like the most dominant stats, but he could get hot in a hurry, and it could be 3 catches for 80 yards. So make sure you're always aware. And whoever gets assigned this duty is going to have a long day because he has a pretty big catch radius, one-handed grabs, things like that. So if you're down one guy, maybe the secondary won't be as strong because you have a new guy you have to kind of incorporate and make sure they're on the same page. So I'm just curious to see how they play this through. And it's not the most dominant offense with spread attack and you pick your poison, but it's still one very productive wide receiver.
No, you're right. I think, it'll be interesting. Especially if we don't see Darion Kendrick, is whether they take Kobe Durant out of him being the star on this defense and they have him just stay with George Pickens here. That'll be something just because I, I do I did see a couple of times where Kilo Witherspoon was on Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown, for against the Cardinals. So I think you might see them moving those two players around just to make sure and it'll be interesting if Deontay Johnson does play. What happens? Who gets who? That'll be another
Good
thing to
point.
kind of keep an eye on. But I yeah, that's the thing with no. I know a lot of Ram fans have been frustrated with the play of Darian Kendrick. So we'll see who they bring, who ends up being the guy who covers, picking George Pickens because he's a handful and he's one of those guys that hasn't broken out yet, but he's on the verge of it. And as you talked about, he makes spectacular catches out there that you're just like, wow, why isn't this guy doing more? And then you realize who his quarterback is, and that's a big reason why.
Yeah, and I
Um,
wonder how much they'll use a Pat Fryer move underneath though, because gonna be as you know, everything's open underneath. So maybe Pickett is gonna really hammer Fryer move there.
Yeah, and as we saw what happened with against the Eagles, where they used Dallas Goddard to a lot, to be able to attack this Rams defense. I was kind of surprised I didn't see a lot of sack Ertz by the Cardinals, but maybe the Steelers and Matt Canada sees something there and they try to attack that with Pat Freiermuth. So That's a really good one. I really mine was the Rams interior O line versus the Steelers defensive line. And honestly, the only reason I put this Gilbert is because I just want to give praise to Steve Avila. There was a video going around on Twitter this week where he just was looking for somebody to just hit, and because there nobody came through for the from the Cardinals defensive line, and he just mauled some dude like from the Cardinals. And then same thing with Kevin Dotson. I mean, he's been impressive. I sent you a thing where he's been like the best guard since he came. He replaced Joe Noteboom, and Coleman Shelton has been outstanding. He got hurt for a couple of plays in the Eagles game, but he's been solid. And I just want, there's no Cam Hayward for the Steelers. So, whether you decide to run the ball or you're just going to throw the heck out of the ball, you know what you have in that interior line. And it's going to, that's where I want to see how the interior of this offensive line performs, because that's where they're best at. And it's been refreshing to see the comparison from last year to this year, seeing how much they've improved. I want to give a shout out to Alaric Jackson, because he's not the great. He ranks towards the bottom in terms of PFF rating for left tackles, but you just have needed him to just be average, and he's done that. And then Rob Havenstein probably going up against TJ Watt. That'll be something to keep an eye on both sides of either the on left tackle or right tackle, Gilbert.
Yeah, that's a good point, and good on you to highlight the interior offensive line because Kyren Williams running so well. It's also a byproduct of the offensive line blocking, and run blocking was a major problem a year ago. It wasn't just pass blocking. Like there's a reason why Cam Akers was so frustrated a year ago because the run blocking was pretty bad, and now you have those grinders in the middle. And I guess we could just say Kevin Dotson's gonna be the guy because Joe Noteboom, I don't know if he was as productive when he was healthy. But that was a good trade by Les Snead, and like it's paying off right now. But also it's good to have more bodies because we know what happened a year ago. So that trio, and I already knew Coleman Shelton was nasty. I even knew that about Steve Avila. He's a rookie. But to get Kevin Dotson to do the same thing and not miss a beat, it could help out with some of these veteran running backs who just came in from LAX. So they got to be balanced because Victor, when you, I know, like you mentioned, Alaric Jackson hasn't been the best left tackle, and even Rob Havenstein has his issues every now and then. But you're going to be facing two of the best edge rushers in the league, T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith. So you can't let those guys tee off on Stafford. So you're able to run the ball and have those grinders in the middle, create the lane. So it will be very beneficial. And we don't know yet who's going to get the ball and get the carries there, but you got to have some type of running game when you have to face two of the best edge rushers in the league.
I think it's going to be Darrell Henderson, and I stayed away from Zach Evans in fantasy. I know a lot of people were I was looking at some experts, and I'm like, have you not watched? I maybe I'm wrong, but like for me in the 11 personnel, blocking is very important. And just listening to Sean McVay kind of confirm what I thought was going to happen, or what I think is going to happen, and that's that Darrell Henderson's going to be in there just because he knows this offense. He blocks. Like one of the things that I thought he highlighted was as soon as he started talking about Henderson and how familiar he was with this offense, he said blocking. He's like he understands the blocking assignments, and I was like, don't be surprised if he not only starts but he gets the majority of the snaps in this game, Gilbert.
Yeah, he's one of the guys who could pick it up very quickly. Sean McVay's still running the show. I know it's a new OC and Mike LaFleur, but it's still Sean McVay and a lot of familiar players, familiar quarterback, wide receivers. I think it's going to be Henderson too.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to keys to the game. What do you got?
Yeah, I won't spend too much time because I've been talking about it, but I do want to see a pass heavy attack here, but you still got to have some type of running game because you can't let the edge rushers go off. So I won't spend too much time here. But once you get some kind of rhythm where you could be a little, not so predictable, I guess. Uh, let's start unlocking now. Now it's your time, Sean McVay, to get creative with the passing game. Unlock Tutu Atwell, unleash Puka and Cooper Cup, and not just Cooper Cup heavy. Cooper Cup 20 targets for the game. with this defense, you better spread the ball around. And if Stafford is in sync, being the surgeon that he is in the pocket, it's going to go a long way to throwing off the edge rushers, throwing off Minka Fitzpatrick, Joey Porter Jr., Patrick Peterson, all these guys who are very standout defensive players. So now it's your time, Sean McVay. Get in your playbook, in your bag, and tricks and motions, all that. Unleash it in this game, but just find some kind of rhythm with the running game. And if it's like a difference between, I don't know, 40-20 when it comes to the pass and the run, that's fine in this game because you are hurting at running back. But let's see what you got. Be creative and not make it so predictable.
Man, I love this because it's gonna lead right into mine, and it's just attack. I talked about it last week. Last week it was the Cardinals were limping into the matchup with the Rams, and I said attack the Cardinals beat up secondary. This week same thing, but it's just attack the Steelers secondary. So one of the things I like to do is just listen to press conference from coaches, and he was asked the other day by one of the Steelers reporters about the Steelers secondary and how it ranked eighth. They allowed the eighth most passing yards to receivers, and they got torched by Devontae Adams for 172 yards on that Sunday night game,
Good point.
and I talked about this earlier is and he keeps getting talked up. They asked him about this as well, is why are you not using your rookie cornerback more, and it has to do with you have a veteran player in Patrick Peterson who's going to go into the Hall of Fame. We've seen how great he was with the Cardinals, then he goes to the Vikings, but he's past he's long gone, he's not as good as he was before. And part of the problem is you also have Levi Wallace, and I think this is going to be a big game for Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup, because if Devontae Adams is torching you, guess what, you have a player in Cooper Cup that can do the same thing. And I think this is where you, as you talked about with Sean McVay, you use your 11 personnel. I think the other guy you need to get involved is Tyler Higbee. Attack the middle of the field as well. So I just think, like, going off the stats, and he was pretty annoyed when he got asked. He's like, "You're look at the tape," and because he's trying to protect his players. Guys like Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace. And because he's not playing Porter Jr., I think that and he finished that game against the Ravens, and that's part of the reason they won. And so that'll be something to keep an eye on, Gilbert.
Yeah, every time I watch the Steelers game, I see or hear Joey Porter Jr. pass break or interception or something. So maybe he's not the best cover man right now, but he's making plays out there. And when your offense can't score, you need the defense to make something happen, a short happen. Use again. So, but yeah, you
There
got
we
the
go. Yes. All right, let's get to our betting spotlight, Gilbert. While you fix your audio issues there, or your mic. The Rams are. I was kind of surprised. They're 3-point favorites, and the over under is 44. I'm pretty sure I know where you're gonna go on the over under. But what's the right side of this betting line, Gilbert?
Uh, yeah, definitely under. I kind of had to hesitate because 44 is pretty low. When it was 48 a week ago, I did not hesitate. But 44, Kenny Pickett and no Kyren Williams for the round. I think it's gonna be low scoring. Good defenses here. Um, and then man, I saw earlier it was 3.5 when I for at least for the SI purposes. I picked the Steelers to cover 3.5 because that's a pretty big number. But when it's three, I kind of okay, maybe I'll go to the Rams. So you
It's
get
kind of
three,
like a pick. It's kind of
yeah.
like a pick 'em at this point because you get 3 points for being the home team.
Yeah, I think the line changed because of Kyren Williams and all the injuries to the running backs, but people are really liking the Rams beforehand. So, uh, yeah, or I guess, or maybe I got it confused here, but pretty much what I'm trying to say is it's going to be a close game. When it was plus or four for the Steelers, I'm like, okay, they could do that, but now it's like, all right, I think the Rams could do it and win on a field goal, and yeah, when it's 3 points, it's pretty much technically a pick 'em. So, yeah, it's not the biggest spread. So you want to go with the home team and take the -3. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I would go with if you're betting this game, just go with the Rams to cover here. It just looks like, but if it was 3.5, I would have been with you, or even 4, I would have gone with the Steelers in this matchup. But when you look at that, it's kind of like a pick 'em. So however you decide to bet this, I don't think you can go wrong here. All right, Gilbert, let's get to our game predictions now. Um, the Rams, they're 3-3. The Steelers, as we talked about, they've been their rivals, their division rivals, and also the Raiders as well. And they've lost to teams outside the conference. So maybe the Rams have something similar. They run something similar to what Kyle Shanahan. How are you looking at this, and how do you think this game's going to go?
Yeah, so I am concerned about no Kyren Williams, but I think the Rams being at home, having a good defense, still having that production on the offensive line to run block and help out one of these new veterans here, they'll get it done. I wanted to go 23-20 Rams, but I hate doing a push, so um, I will go 23. I don't know, a little funky number. 23-19 Rams.
You went out again. All right, here. Let me go ahead and give you my let me give you mine. I for the longest thought that it was an advantage for you to have a bye coming off a bye, and that was, I think, the only person or the only coach that favors. It seems like it's either Bill Belichick or Andy Reid. Outside of that, it's not really that important. And the Rams are at home, so I'm gonna go with the Rams 20-17 in this game. I'm also going with the under, just like you. You've convinced me. Every time I try going with the over, it doesn't hit. So I'm gonna join you here and say I'm gonna go with the under as well.
Yeah, I don't know why I got 19, but I saw a safety in the Raiders game, so it could be, I don't know, 23-17. Then a safety occurs, but I just hate to have the 23-20 push there. I want people to win money, so
There
I
you
could
go.
have gotten 23-18, but whatever. But yeah, I think the
Yeah.
Rams will get it done here. It's gonna be low scoring game, maybe a little boring here, but I do have trust in Sean McVay to scheme something nice for the passing attack, like we said, and then make it work with Darrell Henderson, who's familiar with the scheme here. But hopefully, it doesn't totally go away from the running game. That's what I'm worried about the most, because when you do that, TJ Watt's gonna go off. But I think they'll be fine. And if they end this homestand 2-1, that's pretty good. Going to 4-3 to face actually the Cowboys, who will be coming off a bye week, so another team that's well rested.
Yeah, that's the thing. It seems like they get two teams on bye weeks. That'll be interesting. It'll be, it'll be something to keep an eye on with this team too. What team do we get? Do we finally see a complete game from the Rams, or are we going to see the same one where it's a tale of two halves? They either play really good in the first half and they don't show up in the second half, or like last week they don't show up in the first half and then they get it together in the second half. We'll see, Gilbert. But thank you guys again for staying locked in. Make sure that you have that the two word for a chance at a two entry for a chance to win a Rams jersey. Just thank you guys for listening. Stay the view you for everyone who is viewing our these episodes. We are really thankful for that. Gilbert, anything else before we go? Anything you're working on at SI that people need to be on the lookout for?
No, but always check out and support. If you go to si.com and you see one of my stories, just click on my byline. All the stories will pop up, and I feel like I'm averaging like 8 to 10 stories a week. So I lose track.
There
It's
you go.
it's a lot of daily stuff that comes out, and keeping tabs on the NFL world. I'm sure eventually I'll have like a bigger long form feature, but right now they're keeping me busy with daily content. And it's like I mentioned, 8 to 10 stories a week. And you want some analysis around the league and the NFL, let me not let me know, but figure it out yourself and figure out what I'm writing about. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, go ahead and check out his stuff. You can follow him on X at gmanzano24. But that's it. That's all I got. Close us out, Gilbert.
Yeah, it's on to week 7, Rams versus Steelers, SoFi Stadium. The black and yellow, black and gold. I don't know the terrible
Black and
towels.
yellow, black and
They're gonna
yellow.
come into town, and we'll see how the Rams respond. But on that note, ya nos vamos. Pues, vámonos.